It is now time to review Stardom's 15th Anniversary Supreme Fight 2026 in Osaka show, which took place on February 7, 2026 at the old Edion Arena in Osaka, Japan. And the number one, right? We're not doing the smaller number two building. We're doing the full on. Wait, isn't that the building that used to be called the Bodymaker? Or am I might be misremembering. Maybe something is missing here but I feel like this is the Bodymaker, and then they renamed it the Edion Arena once it got sponsored or whatever. You know, and it's Edion would be the new name, a much less humorous name than the Bodymaker. But I think that's the one. Anyway, big pay-per-view event that took place in front of 2,563 people. And this is the biggest attendance that they have recorded in the old Edion Arena number one for in a very, very long time. So, things are still looking good for Stardom as 2026 is still in its infancy, ambles on. This is a show that, look, I overall liked. I it's not a perfect show, but if you were to tell me, if you were to ask me, well, and I'm sure you are right now because you're watching, Warren, what did you think about it? Did you enjoy the show or not? But overall, I did. Because I think there's enough good stuff on the show here to be like, yeah, you know what? This actually did indeed rock. Whereas, unfortunately, the stuff that didn't work as well really didn't work as well. But, and at the same time, I'm listening, I've been talking, I should say, and listening into to conversations, just getting a sense of how the Stardom fan base feels like, right? And I've been listening into conversations around the Stardom fan base, trying to get a feel for it. I'm not fully as invested as a pure Stardom fan would be. I jump in for the big pay-per-views. I follow things from afar. I go watch recommended matches, but I'm not in the day-to-day. I don't watch all the tours, for instance, right? So I'm not as immersed. So sometimes I'm like, okay, well, what's the pulse of the average Stardom fan here, or maybe the deep Stardom fan? Sometimes it's hard to tell. And overall, I think the feeling is a mixed bag. That this show either ranged from mixed bag to it wasn't great. It wasn't very good, but there were a couple of matches that sort of saved the day. And I can see why, and I understand where they're coming from. And I'm going to try and make a case for why maybe some Stardom fans are a little more disappointed in the show than I am. There's a couple of things I think everyone agrees on here. There's a couple of matches that happened on the show, which I think everyone agrees on were tremendous, great to excellent even. But once you get into the nitty gritty, once you get into the details, then maybe things start like, the sheen wears off. How about that thing? The silver begins to tarnish a little bit. And we're going to get into it. Let's just go right ahead. And I think the way we're going to proceed today is by going from main event all the way to the start of the show. So we'll do reverse order, because I think the most interesting thing to talk about the show should be the lead. And the most interesting thing to talk about on the show is the main event, where Saya Kamitani retained the Wonder of Stardom Championship against Starlight Kid in an absolutely phenomenal match. And one that I think this is a match that was boosted because of an unfortunate event that happened during the match where Saya Kamitani is she anti-airs Starlight Kid with a drop kick. Starlight Kid's flying off the top rope, and Saya greets her with a drop kick to the abdomen. But Saya, when she lands, just lets out a shriek and rolls over onto her stomach, and everything sort of freezes. Everything stays suspended in time. And I mean, everything stays suspended in time. She's barely moving. The referee's checking in on her. He's pushing Starlight Kid back. And eventually we get the medical personnel that shows up. We get a ringside doctor. And then eventually we have even someone from the back run in with a little first aid kit. As the camera pans away, the camera is either giving a wide shot. This is what I noticed. It's giving a wide shot of the ring where you really can't see what they're doing with Saya, other than the fact that Saya is flat on her stomach and she doesn't appear to be moving, right? You can't really tell. And the doctor, you know the doctor is there. You saw him arrive, but you don't really see what he's doing either. And you see the other person come in. Anyway, and then the camera then fades to the Wonder of Stardom Championship. I'm like, oh, okay, there is really something going on here. Like, this is not like, see, because I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, this is heel shenanigans. You know, this is Saya pretending to be hurt and she's going to pop back up and, you know, she's going to schoolboy SLK and get the win kind of thing, or schoolgirl. I don't know. Does that apply? If it's a female wrestler doing a schoolboy, does it become a schoolgirl, or is it still a schoolboy? It's just like the name of the, anyway, look, it doesn't, for the purposes of what we're doing here, that's a weird aside that we really don't need to address right now. So she's flat on her stomach, and they're attending to her, and SLK is just walking around the ring. You know, she's trying to get into character, but the referee is clearly telling her, you know, it's like, hey, you know, cut it out. You know, no, I'm not letting you go in here. You know, there's something serious going on. And you can literally hear nothing from the audience. You could hear a pin drop in the old body maker. You could hear a pin drop throughout the arena. Because time has literally stood still. It has literally stood still. No one knows what's going on. Everyone, and myself as well, I'm sitting there going, fuck me. This is Saya Kamitani. This is the company's breadwinner. She's the top. She's at the top of the promotion right now. She's the one driving the tickets. She's the draw. These people more than likely paid to see this match here, you know, arguably the two top stars of the company. One is inarguable. The other, yeah, we could have a conversation about it. And she and it's just death. It's like no one's saying anything. I could only imagine, you know, the booking committee backstage, you know, watching the monitors, right, and feeling like their chest, you know, collapse inward. We're like, oh no. But the referee, what he does is he picks up the microphone, and from what I understand, from what I understand, he gets on the microphone and then says, hey, so Saya Kamitani, basically, she hurt her fingers. And they're gonna put them in a splint, and the match is going to resume. I think that's what he said. Like, I feel like there's two schools of thought here from what I saw. There's people saying, oh, the referee said that that the match is going to continue, and some people said the referee said that the match will probably not proceed, which is typically the case. You know, in Stardom in the past, when these types of situations have happened, where everything grinds to a halt and the referees go in timeout to stop the clock, you know, typically in these situations, the match never restarts. So we're all like, oh, fuck, you know. So I don't know. Like I don't speak the language, so I can't properly attest to what he was saying or not. But the point is that once he got on the mic and sort of made his announcement, Saya Kamitani magically just like springs up to her feet. She's got two fingers in one of these splints. You know what I'm talking about? You know, when you bandage up two fingers together, right? And so, and she wrestles the rest of the match, you know, basically with either two broken fingers, one broken finger, two dislocated fingers. Because I went back and watched when she got injured. And like a fucking Zapruder sicko, I paused frame by frame to see what happened, and at some point, you catch a glimpse of, one of Saya's fingers, which was completely like just in an unnatural position. You're like, oh, this is fucking gruesome. Why did I do this? Why did I do this? I'll tell you why I did it, for editorial integrity. So she pops back up. Like, she pops back up and she goes straight for SLK. And these two women know that the energy in this match has dipped. And already, for most of this show, by the way, the energy of the crowd was very, very minimal at best. It wasn't a hot, exciting crowd that you'd be like, oh man, you know, they're just gobbling up everything. They're on fire. They're just going crazy for everything. I think there's reasons from the card that sort of drained the goodwill out of the audience. Don't get me wrong, but look, overall, this was not a great crowd. And I think I think these two top tier pros, these main eventers, understood, you know, that first of all, going out, that they had to rock the house, like they had to get the people to leave with a good feeling in their tummies about what they just saw, you know, because you always stay. The last impression of a show is always the one that stays the most, right? So I'm sure that they were already in that type of mode where they were like, we gotta go out there and let it all out, so that when they leave, you know, at least people will be happy when they left. And I think they felt that the crowd was completely gone, like they had completely lost the crowd with the injury. So they understood, like, now what we have to do is go after each other with high level, high energy stuff, like out the gate. So the second act, like, you know, this literal second act to this match was absolutely phenomenal. Now, I realized I didn't talk about the first part of the match leading up to the injury, and yet, like, it was very good. And, you know, they were clearly taking their time to set things up, right? You know, you've got Saya Kamatani doing, you know, her typical things, throwing people onto the floor, working them over on the floor, throwing into the chairs and whatnot. And by the way, like, here's the thing. This is a spot when it comes to Japanese wrestling, I don't care if I ever fucking see ever again. I am so sick of I'm launching people into the chairs spots. And this could be a me problem, because everyone does it in Japan. Everyone does it. You know, they move, they get everyone to move, and they launch people into the chairs. I have seen that spot so many fucking times. Now, maybe being there live, it's exciting. You know, if you paid for your ticket to be on the, you know, if you paid to get floor seats and, you know, you're having that action right before you and you got to dodge for your life because, you know, SLK is being darted, thrown at you. It's like, okay, like, that's a good little rush. But as a fan who watches a lot of wrestling, and if I never see wrestlers in Japan throwing each other into the first few rows of an arena, moving forward, asking the crowd to move, it'll be too soon. But then SLK, she fights back, of course. She does a springboard Nasai moonsault, essentially. And so SLK, she fights back. She does a Nasai moonsault, of course, to the floor. And she starts working on Saya's knee. I guess the story that they wanted to tell in this match was SLK injuring the knee. Something else happened, but nonetheless, the knee would be a through line nonetheless, because, you know, SLK has a couple of knee-based submissions, you know, particularly the numero dos, that she counts on to move forward. So, you know, it was they were laying some really, really good foundations. And then the anti-air drop kick happens, and then we get the injury. So once that happens, once we're done with it, is what I should say. Once Kamatani is back on her feet and going after SLK like a banshee, SLK gets in control. She lands a driver right on the apron, rolls Kamatani back into the ring, hits a tiger driver, and then Kamatani, she tries to mount a bit of a comeback. She has a hope spot for a heel, like whatever you want to call it, and with a roundhouse kick. But SLK positions herself where her neck basically lands in the inside of the knee. And she uses that, and then she uses that momentum that she uses Saya's momentum against her to sort of swing her around onto the floor into a numero dos. And I was like, holy shit, okay, that was actually really sweet. And from this point on, like, this match absolutely fucking slapped. It was extraordinary stuff. They're striking each other. They're hitting big moves on each other. Hell, SLK does an avalanche tiger driver, which absolutely popped me, got me up out of my seat. I was like, oh my God. And thinking to myself, does she fully realize that Kamitani is legitimately injured here, that there's problems here? And she does a German suplex with bridge and the star suplex. Kamitani does a star crusher off the middle rope. So an avalanche star crusher for a near fall. And I found that one a little weird. If I'm going to be a little nitpicky, I'm like, that should have ended the match, because it's her finisher. It's her finisher that she's pulling off the top rope. Why is SLK kicking out? Look, whatever it was a shocking kick out that is done that is immediately followed up by a spinning star crusher by Saya to secure the win and retain her title. Look, this was a truly excellent match. Like, this was really, really top tier stuff. And the unfortunate injury that happened to Saya just added more gravity to it, added more drama to it. This was of course, unexpected, and no one wants, I don't want, at the very least, I can't speak for everyone, but I, at the very least, don't want pro wrestlers to get legitimately injured. I want wrestlers to have long, healthy careers. But, nonetheless, there was a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? There was some kind of fortuitousness, how about that, to this injury happening, because it added to the match when it restarted, and it restarted with Samatani just coming out flying, and wailing on SLK. I was like, okay, like, this actually rocks. This is great. So Kamitani retains. There really no big surprise here. She is the biggest star in the company. She is one of very few pro wrestlers right now that you can actually point to and say, this person's a draw, and this person is bringing in big time money, selling tickets. So, there's no big surprise to me, right? Of course, there is nonetheless a lot of chatter, a lot of conversation as to who should be the person to knock Kamitani off, right? Now, even though Sayaka Kurara, despite the fact that she came out in the post match to basically challenge Kamitani again, right? I think Kurara had challenged her back last spring, April, May, something to that effect. May, yeah, I think it's May. She practically a year ago, Kurara had challenged Kamitani for the title. Obviously, we know what the result of that was. And despite the fact that Kurara came out to do it again, and challenge her once more, get a rematch from their encounter last year. After watching this, I don't know who else you could think of than Starlight Kid being the one to take the belt off of Saya. Like, I don't know. I'm open to suggestions, but right now, when I look at these two women, and especially how they're positioned in their company, and looking at them in this match here, these are two women with enormous star power that have shadows that loom large in Stardom. You could argue that everyone lives in the shadow of Saya Kamitani these days, but SLK has one of her own that a lot of other women, that a lot of people on the roster live under as well. So I look at that. I look at how big this match felt, at the hype that they created around it, and I cannot help but think that Starlight Kid is the person to do it. SLK will be the wrestler to take the title off of Kamitani. Other than that, who would be the person to do it? And I know there is tons of people. Like, Kurara is she's a fan favorite. She's got a big groundwell of support, and I enjoy her enough, but she hasn't found her full form yet, if that makes sense. Like Saya has, like SLK has, like other people on the roster have, like Maika and Suzuki. You can still feel that she's without a full form, fully fleshed identity. So look, I don't know when we're going to do this, when the rematch is going to happen, maybe in a month, maybe in 2 months, I'm not going to tell you. But unless there's this incredible pivot, I failed to see how Sayaka Kurara could be the lady to do the job and become the new Wonder of Stardom champion, World of Stardom championship. I'm sorry, I'm already thinking about the next match. I don't see it quite yet. And this is not necessarily a knock on her. I think she's talented. I think she's very good. She has an incredible crowd connection. Like I said, she's a fan favorite as well. And I'm sure maybe some of you listening right now are like, no, man, I love Saya Kurara. I think she's great. And I'm not disputing that. I think she's a very, very, very good pro wrestler. I'm just saying, as far as having, the full realization of who they are as a pro wrestler, SLK is 100% there. Like, this is I have been a Starlight Kid fan for such a long time. And she's still as excellent as she has always been. What a great match she had here. I don't see who else it could be. I don't know. So do we run? Look, when I was talking about, when I was previewing the card on stream last week, my plan would have been to have this match go the distance, go time, and then run the match again in a couple of months and make it be like a mask versus title match, right? And because then you add even more stakes, even more seriousness to it, right? Like in the match, I was like, maybe they play a little more, in regards to the mask, because let's not forget, Saya Kamatani unmasked SLK a couple of weeks ago in a bit of a shocking moment, and then so that added a lot of fuel to the fire. Now, let's say there were some instances in the match, where you saw Saya sort of tear, at the eye in the mask, trying to rip it off, but she didn't really do any damage to it. The mask was still fine, but I can't help but I was I was sitting there going, oh, are we still doing the mask thing? And it really wasn't a cornerstone of the match. There was no story being told around SLK's mask. So I was like, okay, I guess this is not what we're doing, and we're not doing a rematch with the mask involved. I think that would have been really, really rad. And it's something that you really don't see all that often in Stardom. Really not, because there's not a lot of masked wrestlers to begin with. And even I dare say in the history of Stardom, it hasn't happened very often. To have these types of stakes, and that truly would have been excellent. Because on top of that, look, I know there's a lot of people who want to see what SLK looks like without a mask. On top of that, because So look, outside of that, look, I failed to see who could be, especially looking at this show from top to bottom, right? I may have had another thought earlier in the evening. I said we'll get to that in a little bit, but I failed to see who would be the person to swoop in and take the title away from Saya. Be that person, and it's going to be a big deal when that happens. It has to be someone that the fans will be behind, that they won't reject, because it's going to be a significant moment, and I think there has to be a lot of heat lined up behind it. It's not something you can just throw together and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, we're doing the match next week. It's got to be a big time thing. So anyway, we're going a little overboard talking about the future a little bit. Whereas in the present, or in the recent past, Saya Kamatani versus Starlight Kid is an absolute must watch. It's a 4.5 star match for me. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And particularly when you add in the injury, as unfortunate as it is. And look, this is how pro wrestling works sometimes, right? We'll talk about we'll talk about sometimes, matches happening and then there'll be some accidental blood. Myself, we'll talk about that and we'll say, oh man, that accidental blood just added so much to the match. And it just made it so much cooler and it felt more real. And then you're like, I'll give it a half a star extra or, whatever. I mean, this is the type of situation where it's, where this would have been, in all likelihood, an excellent match regardless. But I think it just was a little better because of the real world stakes that suddenly took hold. And it was tremendous. Now, hopefully, this means that Saya will be able to continue wrestling and will not miss any significant time, because she had taken a little vacation, right? She came back, I think, even a little earlier. She came back earlier than from her vacation than expected. So hopefully she doesn't go. She doesn't need to take more time off. Anyway, it was excellent stuff. I highly suggest you take a look, plant your peepers on this match. Let's keep moving down the card here. Konami successfully retained the Wonder of Stardom Championship against Ami Sourei. Look, Konami just doesn't do it for me. She just doesn't. It doesn't click, and I can't quite put my finger on it, because she's a very talented pro wrestler, right? She's been doing this for years, and the match that she had with Sourei here was good. It was a good match. Like, there's, technically speaking, in all of its essence, there was nothing wrong with this match, but it just didn't land for me. It didn't, and this is the story with Konami's matches in general. Even with the match that she had at Dream Queendom against Saya Iida, right? Where Saya Iida is a wrestler I have a lot of appreciation for, another wrestler that I really, really like. And I'm like, and it just it's just flat. There's a lack of spark, a lack of energy and life to it, because I can look at this objectively and look at everything that's going on and like, this is solid, this is very good work, this is great. But Konami never, at least recently, right, she doesn't seem to be able to get me to get me to care about her matches. Now, I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it. Is it because, look, this is just how she wrestles? Is it because of her opponents? Is it, it always takes two to tango? Is she just not getting the adversaries that will raise this up higher? And I'm like, I don't know. I do not know what this was about. Like, I don't know what it was, why I looked at this match and I'm sitting there going, this is a competent match. This is more than competent. This is a good match. This is good work. These are two solid pro wrestlers, but they are failing to make me care about this match. This is to me, this is a boring, 3.5 star match. And that doesn't even make sense to me as it's coming out of my mouth, but I don't know what else to do. Because the match itself, like I said, absolutely competent and well done and good. We're getting strikes and we're getting Avalanche Blue Thunder Bombs and stuff like that. And I should be, but I can't get invested in a Konami match, and I can't tell you why. This is like the second or third time in a row. But notable matches, her Dream Queendom match, which again I thought, I think a lot of people liked it much more than I did. And I was like, now I'm kind of convinced I might be the problem here. I might be the problem, but she's just not doing it for me. It's flat. She had another one against Rena, which I don't remember, but I know I watched. She had another one against Rena, and don't remember. So, I'm just shrugging and going, all right, whatever. It's like, I don't know. Like I said, like it's probably the dullest 3.5 star match I've seen in a while. It's just the work is extremely good. The work is very, very, very good, but they just doesn't do anything for me. I don't know. And again, maybe part of it is the crowd that really was dead at this point. The crowd was not into this either. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It's not a terrible match by any stretch of the imagination. No, we can't even consider it a terrible match. Anyway, after the match, Hina jumps in to challenge Konami for a rematch, and so she will be up for the title. And at this point, I like Hina, and I kind of hope that she is the one who beats Konami. I feel like there's a mix that needs to happen there, and this is something that I've seen quite a bit in among Stardom fans. They're reaching a boiling point that they can't stand Hate winning all of the matches all the time now. Like they're at a point where it's like, no, we need some refreshing. We need stuff to be refreshed. We need something different now, because Saya won her match. Konami won her match, defended her title, and then BMI 2000, Natsuko Tora and Ruaka, they also retained the Goddess of Stardom championships. We'll talk about that match now, by defeating Hanan and B Priestley, and I think that there's a lot of folks who are legitimately fed up of the Hate stuff and the Hate shenanigans and Hate always winning, and it kind of sounds really fucking familiar to me listening to other Japanese professional wrestling outfits. It seems like every Puro outfit out there now has a faction that has a heel faction that has big numbers in there, and they all wear, a variant of a black t-shirt, and they're all like doing shenanigans and cheat to win stuff, and every promotion has one, right? And I think there's fatigue across the board. I'm glad to hear the Stardom fans are getting fatigued at it. It's not just because I'm subjected to House of Torture, and then when I pop in to watch some Noah, then I have to deal with Team 2000 and now Hate and Stardom. Like it's maybe there's that fatigue that's settling in across the board. The only question you have to ask yourselves at this point is, what is Stardom going to do about it? Are they actually going to do something about it, or are they going to ride it out a la New Japan? And we're going to have people jumping in and defending and saying, no, this is good because X. Now, I want to be clear. I don't think, and again, this is from a guy who doesn't watch like every Stardom show, right? So probably someone who is more invested can come out and challenge and say, Warren, you're wrong, because if you watch everything, you'll have a different opinion. But as a guy who jumps in for a few matches, for recommendations, and for big shows like this one, I don't think Hate as a group is as fundamentally match disrupting and destructive might be a hard word, or a detriment, how about that, to a promotion than House of Torture has been, where House of Torture has been doing the same fucking shtick for years. And if you want to count in the years where it was Bullet Club doing the same thing, we've been doing House of Torture / Bullet Club bullshit for the better part of a decade now, and it's got to stop because it's always the same fucking thing. So I don't think Hate is that terminal to the promotion, but don't wait till it is. You don't have to wait until it becomes a serious problem to turn around and do something about it. If your fans are already starting to grumble and they're like, yeah, maybe we should move on from all of this, then fucking move on from all of this. I would assume At least that's what I'd do. I'd find other ways to get some heat. I'm supposed to be surrounded by creative people, correct? Anyway, Tora and Raka hold on to their titles. And again, like a lot of people were disappointed about this. Then again, like I didn't think this was particularly good. I don't think this was a particularly really good match either. I kind of figured, with the principle, like, Tora and Raka are not exactly, top level work rate specialists. That's not what they're there for. So, my expectations are always curbed when it comes to them. But, B. Priestley is what it is. And, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not particularly excited. I wasn't particularly excited about this match. And despite the fact that I feel like I'm a little more forgiving in regards to BMI 2000 than a lot of other people are, because I think they're so different from anything else. Does that make sense? Like they're just completely different, just offers something that you don't see on the rest of the card. So they're, to me, like it's a bit of there's something a little refreshing where it's like, oh, okay, well, these two wrestlers are not going to do, high speed matches or, be doing big dives off the top rope to the floor and all that stuff, because they're not built the same. Then that's not what they're supposed to do. I don't know. B. Priestley is what it is. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people are high on Hanan as well. I like Hanan enough, but maybe, I don't know. It's all a big stuff of, I don't know. I didn't think this was very particularly good. I will give it the old gentleman's 3 here, but it is what it is. Then we had this gauntlet match with all of the unique rules, where we saw the team of Mi Vida Loca, represented by Suzu Suzuki, Rina Yamashita, Itsuki Aoki, and Akira Kurogane, defeating the Enix's V team of Maika, Zena, Hanako, Waka Tsukiyama, and Rian. And it is what it is. And I like this match. I like this match a lot. And, it seems that a lot of people around the Stardom fandom didn't. And I'm like curious, if I pop into the old cage match, it is at the time of recording here, recording here on Sunday, the 8th of February, it stands at a 5.75 out of 10. I'm like, really? I really like this match. I thought this match was a lot of fun. I'm trying to understand what made it dip so hard in the minds of Stardom fans. Because look, what I think it is the storytelling around this wasn't great. I don't think a lot of people were into the feud between Maika and Suzuki's units. I think that's one thing. I think the idea that the Mi Vida Loca team coming in with one less person and still nonetheless defeating Enix's V sort of shocked and left maybe a little bad taste in people's mouths. Then again, this match served to disband Enix's V at the end. So who gives a fuck? Like ultimately, this was the good result. And I thought there was some really good stuff here. Look, the pacing of the match went like this. Itsuki Aoki started the match off. I believe it was against Waka Tsukiyama, and she dispatches Waka, and then next is Zena who comes in, and Xena. I'm sorry, it's Xena. It's pronounced like Gina, right? I think the commentary were pronouncing it like Gina, or are we supposed to pronounce it like Xena Warrior Princess type of thing? Look, already, once again, and a ridiculous, unnecessary sidebar, but I'm catching myself to stop calling her Zena because it's not Zena, it's Xena. So Xena and Aoki go ahead, and then Aoki dispatches Xena as well. So I'm like, oh, okay, so we're on a level playing field, because right now the story they're telling, right, to me, is that well, Mi Vida Loca are just better fucking pro wrestlers, right? And so the first two matches were essentially, let's not call them squashes, but they were, they were there for Aoki to just run through, right? Maybe it was a little more squashy with Waka, but Xena put up a fight. It was fine, like nothing to write home about it. It's not anything where you go, oh, there was these great. There's nothing to get excited about. I think the match really picked up when the next person dropped in, which was Hanako, and then from there, I think the match got a lot of juice. So Hanako gets rid of Aoki, which brings in Rina Yamashita, and this one was a lot of fun, and this was really hard hitting, just like the other one was, just with. As it was with Aoki, like I said, from this point on, this match had a lot of juice, and there was a lot of back and forth. It was tremendous stuff. Hanako and Yamashita, they went after each other quite hard, and it ended with Hanako doing a running lariat, throwing Yamashita over the rope, but her own momentum carried her over the top rope as well. So she effectively eliminated herself and Yamashita, because in this gauntlet match, you can eliminate someone via pinfall or submission as usual, typical rules, but also doing, a battle royal style over the top rope elimination. So both of these women get kicked out. And then Maika and Suzuki are next in. And I'm a little surprised because then I'm like, wait a second. That means that the last two people that we have here are Kurogane and Rion, who are, they're like they're the C team players of both of their teams. They're not like, well, maybe, you want to call them the B team. The point is, whether they're the C team or the B team, the point is that they're not the heavy hitters. They're not the big stars. They're not the Maikas, the Suzukis, the Hanakos, the Yamashitas, and so on and so forth. They're the curtain jerkers. They're the pin eaters. They're the, you get the idea. So I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, like the scrubs are left at the end. That's interesting. Maika and Suzuki have a tremendous fight. I was so into it. And I really like both of these wrestlers. They're both like big slugging power hitters. I fucking love it. And I loved this. I thought they had a great fight that went to a time limit draw, because in this gauntlet, every match, once an elimination has occurred, every other match, I guess, within the gauntlet has a 10-minute time limit draw. And I think that's so good. I think that's tremendous, actually. And it's such a rule that I'm like, wow, it should be copied more. We should see this more. So they reached the time limit draw after a drag down knockout thing just between the both of them, and then that leads to the last match of the gauntlet is essentially the two lesser members, and maybe this is part of the reason people got turned off, because the match is not ending with your cream of the crop, with the big names, the big heavy hitters, the stars of either faction. It's finishing off with the scrubs, for lack of a better term. And I think this might contribute to people just going around saying, this might contribute to the people who didn't like it, because quite frankly, it was a very strange way to end the match. If we had ended the match with Maika and Suzuki, I think it would have lifted the spirits a little more. Here, Kurogane beats Rion, and everyone sort of goes, oh, well, all right. It is what it is then. Congratulations. But then again, you look at this and you're like, oh, they just gave Kurogane a lot of shine here. Are they deciding, is this a sign that Akira Kurogane moving forward is someone that's going to be featured a little more? Is she going to go on a run where she's going to start winning matches, where maybe she'll challenge for some low-level belts or whatnot, or get some matches against bigger, more established people? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Like, this is where the future is going to lead us. I see this, with my pro wrestling brain, I see this as a message from the company saying, we believe in this girl. You have to keep an eye on her. Like, that's what this means to me. The booking over the next couple of months is going to either prove me right or bury me 6 feet under. And, either way it goes. Like, I'm not necessarily sitting here telling you, oh no, Akira Kurogane, you have to absolutely get behind her. That's not what I'm saying. Regardless, I'm saying, is this a sign from the people at Stardom, from the office, to say, this is the next person that we want you to get into. So we're giving her a big spot here. Now, I think it could have potentially been a bigger spot if she had beaten Micah, but do you really want to do that? Especially since, as I mentioned a little earlier when we were talking about the world title situation, the World of Stardom Championship, I kind of feel Micah might be someone that they're setting up to come around and be a serious contender to beat Saya. And she is also someone who could actually do it. She might be in a position, being, who she is, and a former Wonder of Stardom champion herself. World, not Wonder, Warren, World. It's the World. It's not the Wonder title, it's the World title. Being a World of Stardom champion herself, there's a lot of credibility automatically that comes with this. Now, she's been injured, she came back, and so, that's why she's been a little out of the loop, and they want to get her back into title contention. So maybe if you're setting her up to come in and challenge Saya, well, you're not going to have a lower card wrestler like Kurogane come in and eat a pin on, but it would have been a huge statement on Kurogane, but which could have happened, which could be, unless your plan is for Micah to become the next challenger, the next serious challenger. And so that means, like, yeah, you've got to protect your world challenger. I mean, that's just how it goes, right? But then again, after the match, and I don't know exactly what happened, but it looks like, to me anyway, it looked like Micah might be legitimately injured, or she seemed at the very least very, very rattled. There's something that happened in the match, because she went and she cut her promo where she basically disbanded E-Nexus V, right? Empress Nexus Venus. The group is no more. Everyone's being sent off as, like, go off and do your thing. So there's speculation in regards to what are Micah's next steps. And there's two things to consider here. One, like, what is she going to do? Is she going to start a new faction? Is she going to join a faction? Like, what is her next step moving forward? That's one thing. But the second thing is she okay? Because they slapped on a neck brace on her after, they were carrying her all the way to the back, and was it selling? Maybe, the question is, like, there seemed to be some concern as to whether or not she got hurt in this match. Hopefully not. Hopefully she's okay. If she got hurt again, that would fucking suck, because she legitimately just returned. It's like she returned in December, right? Wasn't it December, late November, December, something like that. From injury. She just returned from injury. Now if she goes, she's out again. Man, that fucking sucks. That's just awful. So hopefully it's nothing serious, and they did a really good job at showing that she got really banged up in this match. But there's something in the way they were acting, and just sometimes my gut feeling is sometimes is like there might be something more. There might be a little something happening here that won't have positive connotations. Anyway, look, overall, like, I'd give this match 4 stars. I enjoyed this match tremendously. I thought it was well put together. I think the action was solid, very good. I thought Aoki came across great as being the badass at first, to just like dump her first 2 opponents. And then from that point on, once Hanako jumped in, right up until the time limit draw between Micah and Suzuki, everything was great. And the final part, you sort of shrug your shoulders. You go, all right. I kind of feel I would have been ready to go to go higher, as far as ratings go on this one, if the finish wasn't what it was, between the two C players or B team players. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not super. I understand why people might have been really turned off about it. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a lot of fun. Shuri defeated Saki Kashima. Of course, Kashima is she's retiring. I believe she's retiring in April. So this was one of the matches she wanted to do on her way out and fight Shuri, with whom she has a bit of a history. They've had like half a dozen matches since 2020. They've been rivals and so on and so forth. And the gimmick here is that, Kashima doesn't want to, she's afraid, so she's stalling, she's running away and stuff. And Shuri has to be relaxed from absolutely destroying her. And Shuri had a good time. Like, this was a little distraction, a fun little distraction. And you could tell Shuri was having a good time. And it was a 7-minute match, and that's all there is to it. Let's move on. Next, let's talk about the 4-way tag team match that we had, where the Neo Genesis duo of Izumi and Miyu Amasaki defeated Natsupoi and Saori Anu of the Cosmic Angels, Saya Ida and Yuria Hime of Stars, and Hazuki, dressed up as a clown, teamed up with Fukujin Death. Right? Dressed up as a clown. She's always fucking dressed up as a clown. Calling herself Billykin Death or something. I don't know. And I was like, what are we doing here? Why is Suzuki doing this? And these are probably like the clown behavior was, I don't know. I'm assuming it was made for Japanese audiences, as it should, because it's a fucking Japanese show. They should. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't particularly care for this match. I thought it was, it sucked because on the preview to this, when I was looking at this on paper, I was like, fuck yeah. There was one team that was question mark, right? Which turned out to be the clowns. Hazuki dressed as a clown and Fukujin Death. So I was looking forward to this match because everyone else, look at the star power on the rest of this in the rest of this match, and I'm like, this fucking rules. I'm excited for this. This should be a lot of fun, and it turns out to just be like fucking nonsense. it's just like nothing of value was gained. The value was lost either, except maybe 10 minutes of your time or whatever. How long that was? How long was it? Just over 9 minutes. 9 minutes and 21 seconds that you'll never get back. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either. It's very, very, very frustrating. I don't know. I wasn't into it. Anyway, it's fine. And the clown stuff I could have done without. I'm sure look, if you watch this match and you're tuning into this review, you're probably going, oh, Warren probably hated the clowns. Well, Warren hated the clowns. I don't like Fukujin Death. I don't even know how to pronounce her name properly. I don't like the sad clown, but she wasn't in her sad clown outfit. She was a happy clown, right? She wasn't in hate tonight. I don't know. Is she out of hate? Let me just, does she still have the affiliation? Was she kicked out or something? No, she's still in according to this here. So, I don't know. Well, why is Izumi wrestling? I don't understand. Maybe it's something cultural that I'm not picking up, which is possible. Maybe they were, in Osaka at this time of year, that's the festival of buffoons. It's the Feast of Fools or something like that, right? And so it's like a nod to that, It's like, I don't care. I don't like it because now it's like taking away it's distracting me from a pro wrestling match, which should otherwise be really good. Anyway, let's keep moving because we're going long already. Maki Ito defeated Aya Sakura to retain the phony baloney kawaii of kawaii title that she made out of cardboard and glitter tape and whatever the fuck. It's her FTW title essentially. shout out Taz. Like it's exactly that. It's the kawaii of kawaii title is basically Taz's FTW title. That's the analysis you tune in for here. Maki Itoh, look, what do you want from me? I haven't had a chance to talk about Maki Itoh for a long while, outside of the horrendous, mind-melting, insulting match that she had at the Mark Hitchcock show against Mickie James, where there are things that happened in that match which are imprinted into my brain and that I unfortunately will not be able to forget because of how fucking insulting it was to me as a watcher and everyone else in that. That was such a terrible fucking match. And this is I'm saying this it was so bad that not even Butterbean versus Minoru Suzuki could make it look better in comparison. That's how fucking bad that match was. Butterbean versus Minoru Suzuki, which was on the same card, just to make sure we're clear. It was on the same card as Mickie James versus Maki Itoh, and Maki Itoh versus Mickie James didn't manage to look any better despite having an absolutely wretched, quote unquote, pro wrestling match happening later on in the show. Still didn't manage to look any better. That's how much of a blithering fucking mess that match was. So I haven't had a chance to talk about Maki Itoh in a while. She's been squirreled away in Tokyo Joshi Pro, doing her thing there, completely out of my eyesight, because I don't watch Tokyo Joshi Pro unless like someone says, hey, Miyu Yamashita just had a kick-ass match with, all right, hey, Shoko had a tremendous match. Let's go, But I haven't watched a Maki Itoh match in a very long time, outside of some clips and stuff that just annoy me, and it's distressing to see that Maki Itoh, who has basically been doing the same fucking thing, the exact same fucking thing for almost 10 years now. She is doing the exact gimmick that she was doing years ago when she really first broke into North American consciousn's, okay? She breaks in, and I myself thought it was a great act, where I'm like, this rules. A petite Japanese pro wrestler who is supposed to be like cute and adorable going on and has like the foulest fucking mouth you could imagine, right? Just goes around saying the worst possible shit in English, and it is inherently funny. Okay. It's inherently funny. I enjoyed it. I could see that her wrestling was limited. She always did the same thing, but I'm like, look, it's fine. She's got the charisma. She's got the vibe. She's got the energy. She's got the gimmick. You can, like I often say, you can really get yourself far in pro wrestling just based on charisma. Multiple examples of that over the years. So I'm like, I don't have a problem with it. Now, the problem that I have with Maki Itoh is that not only has she not changed, I think her wrestling's gotten worse. I think she's become worse. The stuff that I have watched, a couple of GCW things that have been recommended to me and whatnot, I'm like, look, all of this is trash. What she's been doing is not good. So you see, I know I'm contradicting myself where I'm like, well, I haven't talked about Maki Itoh because I don't really watch her. And then I'm saying, well, I do watch her, but no, I don't like regularly watch her. Again, like some people will share stuff to me or I'll see clips and whatnot. I'm like this, she hasn't evolved. This is the point that I'm trying to make. She hasn't evolved. She hasn't changed. And everyone when she was signed to Stardom was like, well, good for her for getting the money, for getting the biggest exposure in Joshi that she'll ever have, quite frankly, working with Stardom in a boom period for Stardom at the same time. Good for her, right? But then I'm like, what is she going to do that's going to be different? What is going to be the thing that is going to make her stand out here? And no one quite understands. No one quite knows exactly what she's going to do, what she's up to. And everyone's, with bated breath going, oh, well, we'll give her a chance and whatnot. I'm like, it's Maki Itoh. What do you expect? What do you expect, Maki Itoh? What did we get? We got Maki Itoh. We got the singing. We got, it's not even singing, the lip syncing, right? She was even at some point she was chanting into the crowd while her voice track was running. I'm like, okay, this is a complete and utter mess. But then again, like I don't care. I don't care enough to be offended by it or get upset about it. Look, I've sat through Tai Chi for years now, singing into his microphone, and when the camera zooms in close enough on him holding his microphone up to his mouth, like he's not even moving his lips. Like he's given up on that bit of the gimmick a long time ago. So it's like it's not even that bother. It doesn't even bother me. But the match itself, I'm like, it's Maki Itoh. It's Maki Itoh again doing Maki Itoh things, and I don't care. She hasn't changed. She hasn't evolved. Look, if you've never seen Maki Itoh, if you've only like watched Stardom and you've never really paid focus, this was probably all new to you, and you're like, no, this was actually pretty fun. But I don't think she has anything. I wondered what she has to give Stardom in 2026. Or at least in this modern day. She was signed in 2025, and I was wondering, like, what was she signed in 2025 or at the start of the year? I don't remember. Anyway, whenever she was signed, is the point. Whenever she ended up being signed, I asked myself, and even out loud on stream, what does Maki Itoh have to give in this era of pro wrestling? And I don't understand. I don't know what she has to give, and she's essentially doing the same tired shtick. So I don't know. Are they going? Do they think that she has enough name recognition and a big enough star to be a challenger for Saya? I hope the hell not. Saya's going to have a hell of a job trying to get something really good out of her. Look, maybe I'm being too rough as well. I mean, this is her first Stardom match since she signed. Maybe there's maybe she'll find her footing and we'll have the revelation that Maki Itoh has been hiding her greatness all along. I highly doubt it. To be perfectly honest, I feel we would have seen it by now. But I'm always open to being surprised. I'm always open to being shocked, and that's all I really want out of my pro wrestling. I want to be surprised. I want my expectations. I want my expectations to be surpassed. So my expectation here is Maki Itoh's not great, and she showed it in this match, and you can only do better moving forward. So best of luck, Maki, I guess. Rina defeated Fuwa-chan. I love this match. I thought this was so much fun. I thought this was really, really good. This is really, really good. Look, you've got Fuwa-chan. This is her second singles match, and she is already wrestling like she's been doing this for years. Like she has picked up on this wrestling thing really, really quickly. And she looks good, and she understands, and she sells, and she's really, really good. And she does like this is turning into one of her signature moves, right? She does the big flying crossbody to the floor, right? And very, very Mayu-esque. But nonetheless, she's doing that. And Rina, she's just laying it in. Rina's not pulling any punches. She's not like, oh, I gotta be careful for the celebrity here. I've had friends confirm to me, because I straight out asked, because again, like there's people around me who understand the language better than I do and follow this closer than I do. And I was like, and I straight up got the confirmation that Fuwa-chan, despite being a YouTuber, despite being someone who was embroiled in controversy and whatnot, she is committed to this pro wrestling thing. She wants it. She wants to be a pro wrestler. She doesn't want to necessarily be a part-time YouTuber, part-time wrestler. She wants to do, this is what she wants to do. And I have no doubts when you look at this type of match, I have absolutely no doubts that she has what it takes. And this is someone else that I'm assuming that they would like to have Saya fight. And quite frankly, I don't think we're all that far off. I don't think this necessarily headlines one of your biggest pay-per-views of the year, but it absolutely could headline a show. It built correctly, and you'd get a lot of attention on you because of her notoriety in Japan. So, it would generate buzz, and I don't think it's unreasonable to consider Saya and Fuwa-chan having a solid match at the very least. with Saya, if Saya wants to ring general a little bit just to make sure. And I have no reason to believe that this match couldn't be good. I doubt much more the quality of a Saya Maki Ito match than I do a Saya Fuwachan match. I think she's very good. I was impressed with her match at Dream Queendom. I'm impressed with this match here. She's quite good at this. Good, solid one-on-one special match, like they called it, and she takes the loss here. Rina beats her. So we're not even doing a thing where Stardom has to push her. She's taking L's. She lost against Hazuki and at Dream Queendom, and now she loses against Rina. So it's not even a thing where it's like we're pushing this I don't want to say mainstream, but this out of the bubble personality, the wrestling bubble, right? Out of this personality that comes from outside the wrestling bubble. We're not even doing that, where she's clearly on a path where she's going to earn her keep. She's going to earn the respect of fans. I think it's a good approach. And eventually she'll go on winning. She'll start winning. And when she wins her first match, it's going to be significant. They might be actually toying with something very, very good here. They might be on the they might be sitting on something that will pay really big dividends down the road. How far down the road? 6 months, a year? I don't know. 3 months, 7 months? I don't know. But they seem to want to do things with Fuwachan the right way. Because I would assume if she just came in and started beating, if she had beat Hazuki right at Dream Queendom, people were probably like, that's kind of weird, right? And then come in and beat Rina, and you're like, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Coming in and just beating the established stars, considering that she herself is a little controversial, maybe would not have been the best play. So they're being very careful with her, and I think there's a reason for that. There's quite likely a reason for them being careful in how they're pushing her. And in the meantime, I'm entertained. In the meantime, she's having very good matches. So good for her. Like this match was one of the high spots of this show. And then we had the pre-show matches. Hina Rana Yagami and Tomoaka Inaba defeaed Ane Kanaya, Kikyo Furusawa, and Sayaka Kurara. It's funny here because Kurara was in a losing effort here on this match. Yet she showed up later to challenge the world champion. So it's like, okay, sure. And then Momokogo defeated Azusa Inaba, Kiyoka Kotatsu, and Lady C. And then Momokogo defeated Azusa Inaba, Kiyoka Kotatsu, Lady C, and Yuna Mizumori in a 5-way match. And I don't have many thoughts on either of those match, other than Momokogo seemed to be a little surprised that she got the win and seems to be setting herself up for a high-speed championship shot, because she pinned Yuna Mizumori, who is currently the high-speed champion in Stardom. So we'll see how that goes. So there you have it. That's my review of the big Stardom 15th anniversary Supreme Fight 2026 in Osaka. It was like I said, it's a flawed show that I liked. Excellent main event. The gauntlet match I thought was also very good. And Fuwachan's match, her second singles match ever as well, I thought was very good. And I think they're all worth your time. Everything else, well, you can dive in, you can check on it, but ultimately I think everything else is skippable on the show, despite being overall pretty much, enjoyable. The good stuff I find really did help carry the stuff that didn't connect as much. And I'm also very cognizant that there are things on the show that I recognize were good, but for some reason didn't connect, didn't get elevated into something that I felt really very passionate about, but yet were fine. It's one of those weird circumstances, one of those weird shows that has a bunch of things going on, and ultimately it's like, yeah, you know what? I liked it. I didn't hate this show. So there you have it. And I hope you didn't hate this review either.